It's done unto you as you believe.
I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. Push my way through the crowd. I'm gonna grab you by the hand to a place we will stand. Stand proud, no fear. It's clear, I believe in you. I believe in me. Oh yeah, I believe that we can make this dream a reality. Yeah, yeah. Now's the time to be. Now's the time for miracles. Oh, it's in my heart so deep. 'Cause I believe.
Ah, yes. Good morning, Baltimore. Good, beautiful Monday morning. What an absolutely gorgeous day it is out there. Put your t-shirts on and your shorts. You might not be able to go to work like that, but you can put them in your purse so when you get a little break, you can run out and catch you some sun. Yeah, black people need sun too. We do, and they don't think we do, but we need that vitamin D that comes from it. So get you some sunshine today. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us here on Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLB 1010 Baltimore, where information is power, but it is no power if you do nothing with it. Please welcome my co-host, and the others are on the way, but please welcome the eminent, the brilliant, the wonderful, the workhorse, the soldier, Marvin Doc Cheatham. How are you today, sir?
I woke up this morning. Thanks be to the Lord. I'm not going to say I woke up in my right mind. We'll figure that out there on the Patrick Henderson show. But I want to say this, folks. There's a great guy who was in a movie, and the movie was called Batman. And in Batman, Jack Nicholson said something, and I think it applies to us today.
What did he say?
This town needs an enema. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make jokes about something, but I think he's right, though.
If I had my organ here, I'd give you a 7/4 man on the organ.
This town needs an enema, and it needs to start. I'm asking every community president interested in hearing the solution that I think we have as community leaders and servants, that we need to do something with this upcoming election. And that is, we need to create a memorandum of understanding for anybody that wants to come speak to us in our community meetings. We need to create a memorandum of understanding, have them sign it, and then we decide on the basis of what they say is whether we support them or not.
I like that. And what we're going to do to hold their feet to the fire?
You basically make certain that you list exactly what your community needs. We've done this 2 times now, my neighborhood, Matthew Henson. And you basically list what are the priorities of your neighborhood. And then you have, if someone wants to come speak to your community, that you actually have them sign off on whether or not they agree or disagree to try to bring to fruition your issues.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, you can rate them. We did that with one of our councilmen who's now a delegate. He failed. He got a 33 report card, and our committee decided not to support him. But unfortunately, one of the things the mayor did, one of the many things, she decided to make a deal, and he became the delegate for our 40th district.
And that would be Nick Mosby?
That would be Nick Mosby, and I think I should have gotten that position.
Well, then you should have gotten it, but she didn't even come and confide or consult with the community. Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a hot day up in the old house tonight. Please welcome also my co-host, Mr. Leo Burrows Jr. How are you today, Leo? They're running a little late. Put your mic in front of you.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. for justice, decency, and fair play.
Yes, sir. And Mr. James C. Moran, how are you today, Jimmy?
Good morning. I'm fine. Good morning, Baltimore.
Thank you for picking Leo up. I was running behind, so you saved my derriere today for not picking up.
Watch that derriere. Save your butt.
And please welcome Mr. Richard Terry. How are you today, Richard?
Well, if you're going to start quoting Batman, I'm about to do my best Rod Serling impression and say you've entered into the
Twilight Zone. Yes, Lord, we've been in the Twilight Zone. We've been in it for decades, and we're always honored when this young man, because I respect him so highly, his sharp mind. It's so funny when I first heard him on the radio. I always thought he was a white boy because of the way he talked. But when I found out he was a black guy, I was even more impressed with him because of his brilliant mind. Please welcome our producer and now an employee here at WLB. But I hear there's some talk that he might even be moving up higher in the world. Please welcome Mr. Jason Rodriguez. Hi, Jason.
Peace and blessings. Good morning, family. Just want to remind everyone we are now streaming live on Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook, so you'll have an opportunity to watch past episodes as well as today's episodes, and you'll get to see all of our great hosts in the studio, as well as Patrick Henderson in all of his glory this morning.
God is so good. I tell you, we're going to start today, and I promise you all we were going to do this. We're going to always say a prayer. Oh, God, our Father, Lord, we bless you for this day. We bless you for another opportunity to open our eyes and to see this beautiful world that you've made. Oh, God, we see the rights, we see the wrongs, we see the positive, we see the negative. But we know that there is the greatest abiding hope is love, because love is the miracle. We're in this turmoil here in the city, but we've been in this turmoil in the city for decades, oh Lord. And we just ask you, Lord, to come in and give us wisdom, give us peace, Lord. Help us to find a way to and through this muck and this mire, oh God. Encourage our hearts, oh God. Help us to come together as one, oh Lord. Not looking at who sleeps with whom or who does what to each other, oh God, but help us to look at the collective of our people, oh God, and bless us, oh God, with wisdom, and help us to make the right decisions. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, there's so much going on, and we would be remiss if we didn't start off with the hottest subject in town. Should the mayor resign? As many of you know, it just seems to keep coming from left, right, up, down, north, south, east, west. She's just being more incriminating evidence is coming forth about her. And some of the stuff that she's done even happened before she was elected. For instance, the University of Maryland and the medical systems here in Baltimore were evidently, because she was on that board, she worked to make sure that there was a cap put on punitive damages that the hospital did to people for malpractice. Say if they attacked you, put your hand on your foot, and you wanted a recourse, you were, of course, fixed. It was fixed where you could only get $150,000, but of course your body would not ever be able to function properly with such malpractice. But she personally was one of the conduits to make sure that there was a cap put on it. But then it didn't stop there. When she was elected, what was one of the things that she's done that just I found appalling was she fixed it where, along with her city solicitor, where the people could no longer sue the police department, the city, for their deviance and for their mistreatment and killing and maiming of us. Fixed it where the city would not pay those damages, and did not insist that police have to have a bond, an insurance on themselves. Of course, the Fraternal Order of Police fought that, but they shouldn't be able to fight it. And I read an article last night, Jason, I think it was Lamitra, my sister sent it to me, where and my thinking was too, that basically it would make them think before they did something stupid. That's why this insurance would be needed, but that didn't go through. And there's a list of other infractions that she's done. From now, the last I read, it was up to $800,000 that she's made off of that little Holly book, Healthy Holly book, and the leverage and learning how to do that. Well, my first question to my board is, to my anchors is, who taught her how to do that?
She's been part of the pay-to-play system since she's been an elected official. She's been involved in politics at the city and state level in Maryland for more than 30 years.
Really?
Yes. She's not a neophyte by any means. She's a very intelligent, well-educated woman who plays the game of the pay-to-play politics, as it were. When you talk about resigning, I've taken the position, I don't care whether she resigns or not. Whatever happens, happens. The point is she's been a corporate tool. The wealthy and the powerful. The wealthy and the powerful have used her for quite some time to do their bidding. And not the least of which, when you look at the city solicitor, and you've alluded to it, with regard to the consent decree and the lack thereof with regard to the civilian review board, those kinds of things, she's there to maintain the status quo. Not to say she's not going to do anything that enhances the needs of the community. I'm not going to say that either. She will do some things, but the reality is that she's there to block institutional change, fundamental changes that are necessary. These people who are calling, Bernard Jack Young refused to sign. He's not going to change anything substantively, in my opinion.
He refused to sign
the petition, the request.
No confidence. They wanted to resign from the city council.
Sharon Green Middleton is an old timer, more than 20 years. Here we go again. Bill Henry, old timer, long time, knows how to pay to play. Mary Pat Clark, who we like because she advocates a lot of positive concepts, but she may vote ultimately in support of whoever the mayor happens to be. So you have veterans on the council who have joined forces with the new Turks on the block, as it were, who are on the council. They're calling for a resignation. All I'm saying is, if you want changes in the city charter, if you want a recall provision put into our politics, which I think is great.
Absolutely.
But folks have been talking about that for years, but no one has taken responsibility organizationally, or even the clergy in our city.
No, they're complicit, most of them.
In terms of making certain that these things happen. When you're mobilizing people to vote, which we should. Everyone, I think, should vote. It is strategically and tactically important to vote. Throw the bombs out, we hear people say. But the reality is that while they're voting, they have to know what government is about. They have to understand how government works. And the civics were taken out of Douglas High School. The civics were taken out of our classes and our instruction. So it's all by design.
It's all by design.
We have an ignorant electorate, generally speaking.
But does not, as Oprah Winfrey say, the injured must bear witness. That's all I want. Whether they know about the civics, whether they know about anything, they have been injured by this mayor. By taking away the right to have some sort of restitution from when a hospital almost kills you from malpractice. See, I think that's the bigger picture. And I think that's
I agree with
only
you,
way.
But she's doing what others, and I'm not letting off the hook, but Patrick, she's doing what others have done, black and white, in terms of protecting the Greater Baltimore Committee and the wealthy and the powerful from liability. They're not talking about an even playing field and equity and a wealth disparity. They don't give a damn. They want the wealth to be.
Doc, you said this earlier. Can we do what Leo is talking about without a recall being put into the charter? What recourse do we have? And you said, and you just did an all-points bulletin to every committee, every community group. And I love the idea because we did that before when we issued a report card.
I think it's a great thing.
It's a great thing. But can we do it without adding the teeth and having the teeth of a recall provision so that we can get these people out of there before, keep them from doing their complete term? What recall ability?
I think we almost have a necessity to put in a recall when you look at the fact that we're not ready yet to change the structure of the city of Baltimore, where you have a very powerful structured mayor system. We need a recall apparatus. We need an apparatus where the only members that serve on the board are the 3 elected members. Do not allow the mayor to put 2 more votes on, which means he totally controls it. We need to have term limits for members of city council. They've been on on the line so far as elected officials far too long. But at the end of the day, if we don't get out to vote and then vote intelligently, we have been voting very unintelligently. How do you elect someone that doesn't campaign, doesn't go to any campaign candidate meetings, but you reelect him? Yeah, I'm talking about what's the boy's name?
John Henderson, the sheriff of Baltimore City,
and the 40th district. No, the 40th district. The delegate. How do you elect him? And I'm not saying anything that's factually incorrect. You don't spend any money. You don't go to any campaign meetings. You don't go to any debates. And the community is ignorant enough that you elect him. You reelect him. We need to look at this very seriously. But I am challenging anyone that wants to join my community and a few others. We're going to bring about memorandums of understanding that we're asking communities to draw up that safeguards your community. And on the basis of that, that's how you determine who you want to vote for or not vote for. And put back in office or not put back in office.
Well, Doc is right. You need term limits across the board.
Yes.
I mean, in the state legislature as well as city council. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, I have a few things to say. Number one, do we have in this city the political will to make a change? I don't know that we do. I listened to Doc say that, we got to vote. That's an expression of a will to make a change, it seems to me.
Of course.
We have a power vacuum now, and this is a dangerous part of our city administration, because with a power vacuum, then what my father used to say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And so with a power vacuum, you could have unintended consequences. And so I'm very concerned about that. And then we have...
And when you say power vacuum, could you be a little more explicit?
Sure. We have a number of people on council and a number of people within the city who have their own agendas. So is your agenda related to uplifting the city, or is your agenda related to uplifting your particular community at the expense of other communities? And so when I say power vacuum, a lot of times I'm talking downtown development versus Sandtown, Winchester, or any other community.
Okay. I was wondering if you also mentioned the fact that Mike Bush has died, so that's created an incredible power
at the state level. Yes.
At the state level, but everything is dictated here from the state. Am I not correct, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Is that well, not the?
But then there's one other point I need to make. Okay. We have no checks and balances. All we have is a system that allows a strong mayor to do whatever the strong mayor wants to do, unimpeded. And so we have power vacuum, we have a lack of political will, and then we have a system that doesn't have checks and balances, which is a toxic mixture for this city.
And explosive.
I offer my condolences to the family of Speaker Bush and all that are concerned about his passing and his legacy. But let me just say that the Mike Miller is president of the state senate. He is, I understand, gravely ill. I pray that he will,
He's sick too?
He has cancer.
Yeah, he has cancer.
I understand it's stage 3, stage 4 cancer. Wow. Mike was president of the state senate. What I'm trying to say, the system is set up so that the people who hold power die in office. And I'm not I'm not making light of that, because we're all going to die and we all fall short of the glory of God. But these folks are there for life as they deem it in Maryland politics.
Because there are no term limits.
That's right. And Mike Miller is the supreme absolute dictator of the Senate. And so there are no term limits. And Adrian Jones is now Speaker pro tem. She's the black woman who's qualified to do that. The question then becomes, in my mind, is will the Black Caucus, given her, and she's very conservative as far as I'm concerned, but given the fact that she deserves it, she's been loyal, are they going to rally around getting her in the position of Speaker? That's a longer.
Don't make me cuss up in here.
Go ahead, cuss.
Loyalty. 410-481-1010. We want to hear from the city.
She's a loyal Democrat.
Yeah, no, but you just said she's too conservative.
That's just my opinion.
Yes, Richard, go ahead, yes.
Okay, we started talking about Catherine Pugh. You have to remember, The mayor studied under William Donald Schaefer.
That's right.
Who was the absolute master of the strong mayor system because he studied under Richard J. Daley of Chicago.
Yes,
That's right.
So that's where the learning curve really began. Several of my colleagues and I have discussed, we've discussed, and some of them don't share my views, but I feel you have to destroy the entire system in order to reform it and change it. But unfortunately, there is no political will, especially in the system, especially now with the strong mayor system. City council is not going to go at them because since the funding for their pet projects in their districts comes from that Board of Estimates, how they would not dare go against whatever the office of the mayor wants. Right now, what you're seeing with the city council is you're beginning to see the contenders and the pretenders to the throne begin to jockeying for position and begin to jockeying for 2020. And also, you're going to be seeing some other people going after other people. You're going to see somebody challenging Joan Pratt for the first time. You're going to see Bill Ferguson, I think, coming out of the General Assembly to throw his hat in the ring for the office of the mayor. Right now, this is a very, very dangerous time because I don't know what anybody is standing for, especially when we have people who, when they go out of their houses in the morning, have to worry about whether or not they will get home alive. You have people who are now trying to come home, not knowing whether or not their water bills are going to be going through the roof, or the property taxes are going to go through the roof, or will they have a roof to go to?
So you think they're so preoccupied that these things will continue? Is that what you're saying?
It will continue. Or now, here's the other part. We have this thing going on with UMMS. UMMS now has the nerve to try to get through, I think, the General Assembly somewhere, a 4% rate hike. But what are they more concerned with? They're more concerned with a stupid race and a stupid racetrack.
That's a University of Maryland medical system, right?
That's correct.
They want a rate increase
They're
at a
both
time
mics
when
served on. They're both mics served
for decades, right?
That's right.
That's correct.
How come they're not under investigation as well?
Well, because they're dying. Because Peter Franchot was on television yesterday. I don't know if y'all saw him on WBAL. He said that absolutely the mayor should resign. He also said that Mike Bush and the other Mike, they needed to be investigated, Mike Miller, but they're both dying, so they'll probably get away. But it's interesting that they put forward some legislation to stop people from being on those boards, and they're both dying, right? So they know they're leaving here, so they're not exactly concerned about what happens to the rest of the time after they're gone. I found that very interesting. But you know what? Let me go to the phone.
It's amazing.
It is beyond. It's incredulous.
It's terrible.
It is. Bubby, welcome to Patrick Henderson.
Thank you so much.
Enjoyed you the other night at that NPR meeting with Real News. Thank you for your participation in that panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, you know what, gentlemen? I am so concerned about where our city is headed. We have a mayor that is in hiding while she negotiates a plea deal with the state and federal government. But I would like to know how much money did BG&E give her for the book. See,
right on.
It's still a whole lot of more shoes that haven't felt yet. And then we can understand her legislation and her vote to the Board of Estimates to keep the white elite in control of this city. Now, we must be perfectly honest, and we need to ask this question to Acting Mayor Jack Young. Do he have the power to remove any of the department heads that the mayor was paid to put in place?
Like the Solicitor General? That question came up yesterday. Does Jack Young have that power? Does anybody know the answer to that?
You mean the city solicitor?
The city solicitor, I'm sorry, yeah.
Technically, he does as ex officio mayor.
He does?
Technically, he does. But whether or not he will pull the trigger is another different matter altogether.
This town needs
because James Smith resigned over the weekend, and he resigned to Jack Young. And Jack Young accepted his...
that was Jim Smith.
Jim Smith.
He's doing a lot of praying. Hey, let me just say, could it be possible that he asked for 90 audits or 90 departments? Could someone find out, did he ask for the audit of the Baltimore City Housing Authority?
No, Bubby, I think what he pulled for was 90 contracts. He didn't call for 90 audits. He pulled 90 contracts that the Board of Estimates...
Contracts that had gone before the Board of Estimates.
to be reviewed. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but then now don't you think he should call for an audit of the water department, DPW, the housing authority, the police department?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And we're waiting for what's going on. Now, if you're telling us that we don't have leadership in the city because our crooked mayor is in hiding while she negotiates her plea deal, this tell you how really weak this city is.
But wait a minute, Bubby, I want to know what happened to all them audits that was happening under Stephanie Rawlins Blake. Why weren't those audits ever released? Y'all remember those, right? Any of y'all remember them audits that was done?
Yeah, I remember one was supposed to be in the school, Baltimore City Public Schools.
And Richard, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that some of those audits didn't take place because they wouldn't give
the money to fund it.
The comptroller
the money
to be able to hire the auditors.
To do the audit.
Yeah, but then
I think I'm in a minority here because I don't remember any of those audits taking place.
Well, they were
they
didn't release
that
them.
time when I had my scrook. I don't remember those audits.
But check this out. Didn't the head auditor just resign last week? Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
But you've got to remember that Jack Young has been part of the pay-to-play system. He's been one of the architects to ensure that these things that we talk about, that we're advocating for reform, not come to fruition. You got to go back and look at his record. That doesn't mean he isn't intelligent, he's not articulate, and he knows the system, but he's not a change agent. His record doesn't indicate that he has been about institutional change. There's no.
If you listen to him carefully enough, he wants to keep control of the city council.
He doesn't want to be mayor.
And he's the tax incremental financing, the TIF man with Kevin Plank.
Yeah.
Okay, we understand that.
Thanks, Bobby. Thank you.
Go ahead. Since we want to quote comic books today, and superhero movies, I'm going to quote Spider-Man to Jack Young, to the new interim mayor, Jack Young. With great power comes great responsibility, and he needs to step up and exert great power.
But a hesitant prize fighter is a dangerous person. It really is a hesitant prize fighter because they're in the ring. But if they hesitate, they will lose. Eric, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment, sir?
Comment. Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good morning.
I'm all right, man. So let me figure this out. Let's say, I'm on the board, and I tell you guys that, well, I have this book, and I was looking at if I'll vote for something that you want done, give you a $45 million contract, you give me $100,000. And then it's repeated, not with me, but it's with other people.
Same formula.
Same formula. It gets to looking like these guys are complicit in what the mayor was doing.
Yes, they are.
They are.
Right? And so I made the comment the other day on a radio station, I'm not going to say, because I guess one of the guys who donated the money to Baltimore City, swimming pools, when we were going through a swimming pool crisis a couple of years ago, he's a black guy.
I know his name. I know who you're getting ready to talk about.
I guess I spilled beans, and everybody got upset with me because, he's a good guy. But I'm like, well, he could be all the good guy he wants in the world. But it still looks like he's complicit in what she's doing because he knew giving her $100,000 and he even received some books. That's still some underhanded stuff. I don't care how much money he donated. We got all kinds of drug lords and drug dealers in the history of Baltimore City who took care of the whole community. Peanut King paid everybody rent and gas electric, but he still was a dope dealer. But that don't mean nothing.
I need to make one slight correction. Rumor has it so far that he only received one book.
What?
One book.
It's not a rumor. It's reported in the newspaper. He acknowledged that.
Yeah. One book.
Maybe that was just a sample of the product.
But you also have to remember, it is the appearance. I keep saying it is the appearance of a conflict, which is just as bad as the conflict
But how
itself.
can you serve on a board like that? University of Maryland Medical Systems. You have all of these board members. How come we're not seeing all of their names and all of their credentials? Why are we just singling out the mayor? There were other folks.
That's right.
That
is
on
right.
that board. We need to know all of them and what roles they play. And if you didn't know, you should have known.
You should have known. We got to take a little break here. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People, and don't you touch that dial because we're not through yet. I'm telling y'all, the lines are full. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Gonna grab you by the hand to a place we will stand.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore. Brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. The new 1010 WOLB with talk in the day and soul at night.
Are you close to losing your home to foreclosure? Do you not even open up the mail anymore because of constant threats to garnish your wages or take away your home? Don't get more and more frustrated with the system. Use it to your advantage. Often you can find bankruptcy protection and keep your home and other assets. And now the Foreclosure Assistance Center is here to help you and do it for less. They are offering a low fixed rate of just $500 to file for bankruptcy. So call them today at 410-415-3777. The attorneys at the Foreclosure Assistance Center have over 20 years of experience in helping homeowners save their homes and stop the harassment from creditors. Take action now. It's far more expensive to get out of it the longer you wait. Do it now. Call 410-415-3777 or visit foreclosureassistancemd.com for a $500 bankruptcy. Get out of debt now. Stop the harassment and keep your property. Call 410-415-3777 today. That's 410-415-3777. Or check out foreclosureassistancemd.com. They are a debt relief agency helping people file bankruptcy under the bankruptcy code.
Baltimore and beyond. This is your host, Lou Fields. BDX Live Talk Show now airs every Monday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. on 1010 a.m. You can also listen online at WOLBbaltimore.com. BDX Live covers breaking news, business news and reports, tips and topics from Baltimore's business community as well as the state of Maryland across the country. We also give you the Maryland Black Facts every Monday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We also provide political updates and news from City Hall, County Council, and what's going on in Annapolis, Maryland. We also have a special feature on health and wellness, diet and nutrition, home care, self-care, nursing, speaking with healthcare providers. We also cover travel and tourism, conventions and reunions and bus trips coming into Baltimore. We also have a special section called Sports and Entertainment, Sports Rap with the Coach. And lastly, we cover community news and events with our special guests, and we talk about what's happening when and where. Tune in every Monday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., 1010 a.m. This is your host, Lou Field, saying, tune in Mondays, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., WLB Baltimore, 1010 a.m.
Agnes was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed the IRS a lot of money.
She found out about Optima Tax Relief.
They guaranteed me that they were going to help me out the best that they can, and they did.
Optima stopped the IRS.
Optima Tax took care of everything.
Are you in deep trouble with the IRS? You might want to listen to Agnes.
I would refer Optima Tax Relief to anyone.
Call Optima right now for your free consultation. Call 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977.
Optima Tax Relief.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Welcome back to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Well, now y'all know we love us some Doc Cheatham up in here. And the saints is coming in and confessing.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Confessing. You just told us of something that we didn't know. Tell us again, Doc. What did you do?
Well, one of the things I accepted, I did accept, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I did receive 300 books.
Of Healthy Holly?
Healthy Holly. Gave those books out to my elementary school. But mind you, for the last 7 years, I do a men reading in Baltimore City program.
Yes.
And usually with that program, there's at least 1 or 2 authors that I solicit that come in, and they not only read their book to the children, but then they also give away the book. So, yes, I have a confession. I guess I'll be investigated as well, but paid no money for it.
Healthy Doc.
I did get 300 books, and I was very pleased to have gotten them because all of the children got them, and I've
and
done
that. That was the real. That's the part that gets me. At least maybe she should have made sure that the kids got the books. But they say it's almost 10,000 of them sitting in a warehouse.
She gave me 2 copies of her book about 4 or 5 years
Leo
ago.
too.
She gave me 2 copies. 4 or 5. So she's sincere about health. She's sincere about health. But Doc, go back to your point about Senator Kelly. I heard you say Senator Kelly Oh, we talk about a $30 million deal. He's got sons on different boards.
That's the swimming pool guy?
No. The
Who
state
was
senator Kelly. One of you guys who know more about Kelly, tell us about Wheeler Dealer Kelly.
I think he has an insurance company.
That's right.
And this insurance company, I think, made over like $10 or $20 million with the University of Maryland system.
Okay.
And then his sons are on different boards that are a part of the overall University of Maryland medical systems boards.
Money hand over fist.
Yes, it is.
And may I also say something?
You got a confession too, James?
No. I was going to say how good I feel that all this confession is going on. It's like cleansing of the soul. That's wonderful.
I tell you what,
Jason, ain't nobody outside the parking lot waiting for us, are they?
Is that Sheriff John Anderson on the line?
No.
John is, again, I'm telling you about John. John runs for a election every 4 years, and he doesn't campaign.
Right.
He's the darling of the political establishment. He doesn't have to campaign. He just keeps his job. He doesn't weigh in on issues of crime and violence in the city. He's part
and
of
they keep getting elected.
He's the big fat daddy of the Democratic political machine, loving, dealing, darling,
Santa Claus, Black Santa Claus.
I've heard
John.
his voice once.
Yeah, well,
on the commercial, right? Advertising that they're going to get people for child support.
His constituents include his most ardent supporters, Mary Pat Clark
right.
and Bernard Jack Young.
You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Welcome back. Y'all see we can't keep you. Yeah, we are.
I wonder how many copies of Healthy Holidays.
Oh, he bought hot. Smitty, welcome. No, I'm sorry, Robert. No, Smitty. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
We're doing pretty good.
It's Robert, right?
Look, man, it's interesting. We need to go back a few years, perhaps, and reach back on some of this legislation she passed, and see the negative impact on our community. And we wonder why we haven't budged or moved up any farther than we have. And we have more or less rented off some of our trust unto our politicians, and she's not the only one. I remember back in the 90s that of Lisa Gladden and Nathaniel Oates and the late Tony Fulton, they voted to let BG&E do a 72% hike rate.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
I mean, man, this kind of stuff negative.
Right. I wonder what's happening. What happened to Stephanie Rollins Blake? Ain't no telling what all she did while she was in there. Why is there no scrutiny of her? I'm wondering. Thank you so much, sir.
Since this caller mentioned BG&E, Sandy Rosenberg, 1999. Am I right, Doc? Didn't he introduce deregulation for BG&E? Sandy Rosenberg, never held accountable. Folks say we love him. We love him because he's Israeli. So we got him, and he's screwed us ever since. Sandy Rosenberg, he's still holding elective office.
I think another thing, too, is just recently I heard folks were talking that the state of Black America in Baltimore City, you've had 3 black female mayors. And
Queens.
Right, Queens. And in some cases, we've actually gone backwards. We're still struggling with black minority contracts. We're still struggling with housing issues. We're still struggling with economics. We're still having issues with the educational system.
And 1/4 of us live in a food desert. 1/4 of us.
And we won't talk about police brutality.
All those female mayors were geniuses.
But you know what? Someone said something to me the other day. They said if you look at the prototype that is Missouri, where was the
Ferguson.
Yeah, it's the same thing that is happening. That is happening there
yesterday.
You mentioned it to me yesterday. You mentioned it on there. Y'all that don't hear the Sunday show, y'all missing it. It's just me, James, and Richard. Normally, I can't get the rest of them out from the front of their television on Sundays.
Basically, what happens in Ferguson is that you're ticketed into poverty.
Yes.
So you get speeding tickets, you get parking tickets, you get whatever kinds of tickets, and then on Mondays and Tuesdays, basically all the black folk in Ferguson are in court paying fines.
That's right. Same way it is here.
I've had conversations with folks from St. Louis, and in some cases they were afraid to leave out at nighttime because of the traffic initiatives. The police would basically driving while
Target
black folk targeted.
Let me tell you, we're not going. Next week's show, we're going to talk about these speeding tickets.
A source of revenue.
It is a source of revenue, and it is not only predatory, but it is also discriminatory because they are particular where they put those cameras up. Brian, what's his name? Dorsey. What's this city councilman? Sir, I have not been able to confirm what you said that after 6 o'clock those cameras are turned off. I have not also read, because of the information Jason sent me, that those cameras, after they put them up, they can't put a camera in a new area and give tickets for the first 15 days. How many of y'all knew this? So if you got a camera, got a speed camera you didn't know was there and it was up and you didn't know it, you should fight that. But I'm not going to get off on that, but that's going to be a hot show that y'all don't want to miss because this city is screwing us.
You don't want to miss any of Patrick Henderson's shows.
No, you don't want to miss, I'm telling you. Smitty, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
Gentlemen, I want to bring to your attention about the mayor with her shady deals. When you talk about a guy, Jim Smith, that's hard to the city, he gave her $100,000. He gets a job for $180,000.
$200,000, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he gets a post that nobody never knows what part of the job that he's playing in the city. So what I want to bring to your attention is that we have to look at the whole entire city and look at the unfair practice of deeming taxpayers out of their money and getting nothing in return. These speed light cameras, I wouldn't doubt if it don't come out that she negotiated with them. The Healthy Hardy books, as we just talked about, I'd like to have one of them books. Maybe I could sell one and get 100 million thousand.
I don't think it's worth a penny.
Can I say signed autograph when they're doing well on
Can I say something real quickly?
eBay right now?
I'm getting Facebook postings where people are saying the media is convicting the mayor before an investigation begins. How fair is that? The media has slandered her reputation to the point that it's irreparable harm being done. How can she lead effectively after being dogged in the newspaper with negative story after negative story?
Negative true stories. They fail to say that they're true stories. That's the part that gets me. I don't understand.
I'm just telling you.
I know what you're saying, but y'all need to get rid and understand that these are not lies.
And but it's not our fault. She came on and gave a press conference, and we still trying to figure out what it was all about.
Baby clothes.
Baby clothes. But the point is that there is a faction of folks in this town who, no matter what, will continue to make those kinds of arguments.
But they've been damaged. These are the same people that are supporting Trump. Same people. This man's getting ready to cut out Medicare, Social Security. This is the man that's cutting food stamps, Meal on Wheels, and these idiots are still. I'm sorry, I said this morning I wasn't going to do that. Please forgive me for calling y'all idiots. No, you're not sorry. But that's the problem right there. They want to protect the people that are trying to kill them. Where does this come from? Yes, Smitty.
Don't let Doc get away without getting us them books. He say he had some.
Lord have mercy. I knew I shouldn't have confessed this morning.
It's good for the soul.
It's good for the soul.
Smitty, come help me, brother. Come help the brother.
Thanks, Smitty. Thank you so much, sir. Then we got Paul. Paul, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
First, I just want to say I love each and every one of you brothers on this panel.
Praise the Lord.
Y'all bring us some good and vital information. You know, I'm having a problem because I'm trying to figure out. Now, I know the mayor's in trouble. She's under a lot of scrutiny from what she did. But I would say, you know, we got to look at this city council very hard. Start with the president.
Amen.
Because a lot of this stuff that's gone on under Jack Young's watch.
Jack the Ripper.
You know. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is, you want to know why there's so many liquor stores in the city of Baltimore? Follow his money trail, who campaign, who donates to this man, and you'll see exactly why. A lot of times we don't follow the money trail. And we're going to find out, you know, our own black people. Brother Patch, I can't understand. How could anybody of color, how can you sit back and do this to our babies?
I know. No, make me cry, man.
How can you have a heart, Mayor Jack Young, and the
no
whole
heart.
city council?
No heart.
How can y'all have a heart to watch what's going on with our people? Our babies,
I know, man.
Young kids, young women. The little kid got shot. They were at a baby shower. They shot the. Come on now.
I know.
The people are crying out for help.
I know.
And he's,
This town needs an enema.
But I will say this: I am a man that believes in God, and I know there was a time that Moses was in the mountain, and God told me, "Say, I've seen the affliction and oppression of my
people." Yes.
He said, "I've seen it," and he's seen it. And I'm gonna tell you something. This new man that we got that's in our Jack Young, your wool is getting ready to get pulled off you, my brother. I'm sorry to say this, but every city council, every person that had their hand on our babies dying out here, that blood is on your hands.
It's not only the babies dying, but the seniors, the people that go to the hospital now, or do not have any kind of recourse other than $150,000. And then if the police beat us up and take our lives, the city's now saying that they're not responsible for paying it, but they won't make police take out a private bond to do it, so they don't care, sir. And that's what is imperative. That's why I can't believe anybody is supporting this regimen. Thank you so much.
And that's if you can get past the medical board, because again, my wife had a medical malpractice from one of the local hospitals, and you have to get another doctor to certify that there was wrongdoing.
Wow.
And the process is someone related in your field. So because this was an orthopedic doctor, you had to find another orthopedic doctor that was going to go against one of his peers.
Wow. And that's not easy to do.
That's not easy to do.
Right.
I'm of the opinion that when we talk about African heritage and culture and blackness and loving one's heritage and culture, it encompasses more than skin color. We got to understand that. Everyone doesn't have the passion maybe we should have if we embrace our history and understand from whence we came and the struggles and the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of black folks who fought and died both throughout the diaspora and in Africa, in the United States, all over, throughout history. If you don't have the passion, then you cannot embrace the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, the first fruits of the African harvest. You can't even embrace the 10 commandments because you don't believe. You're not a true believer in your people, your heritage, and culture.
Right,
so,
but you know what, Leo? They're not only that, but Jesus said, if you believe in Jesus, he gave 2 great commandments.
And
one was that to love you, the Lord thy God with your whole mind, body, and soul, and the other one's to love your neighbor as yourself. So all you Christians out there talking about you saved and sanctified, and you can't stand the idea of 2 men sleeping in the White House and all that stuff. The Bible told you to love your neighbor. So if you're not doing that, you are not honoring the words of Jesus.
Saved, sanctified, and full of holes.
Oh, I got another word, full of S. And I can't say it on the air. Yeah, full of holes.
Is that
Keith,
sanctity?
Keith and Fish Keith, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Welcome. You have a question or comment, sir?
Yeah, I can't hardly hear you. Something happened.
Okay, can you hear me now? Come off your speaker. You're on the speaker. Okay, go ahead. Come quickly.
All right. My name is Keith Scott, and I've been listening to the show for a while.
Thank you.
And the conditions of Baltimore, it just don't happen. It has been created during the years by corrupt government. It's not like nobody knew about this, but nobody ever failed to rectify that problem. When you live in a city with the government have absolute power, they're going to do what they need to do to get that money back from the corporations that's paying them. During the years, you got the homeless, you got a whole lot of different situations, and we know for a fact that Baltimore government does not work for the people. So the only solution is to replace the whole government with a brand new one.
That's what Richard is suggesting. That's what everybody is on this panel think needs to happen.
I'm not on that line.
You don't think so?
Go. I mean, from everybody. I understand that y'all know people that's on the board in the politics, but they're not your friends. Okay? Everybody got to go. If you've been in politics for 20 years and the conditions of Baltimore has never changed, you're only in it for the paycheck.
That's absolutely right, and that's the bottom line. But I do want to hear what you have to say, Doc. Come quickly.
I believe there are some significant changes we need to make. I don't think it's likely that we're going to wholesale tear everything down and start all over again.
Well, that's
I think there are some specific things that we can basically agree to and go at them. I just think to say just totally throw the system away, I think that's not going to work.
Check it out what they did in Detroit, though. That's exactly what they did. They went from a mayor-controlled situation to a city manager, and look at what's happening in Detroit. It is
DC
amazing.
had a control board that changed what happened in D.C. Now look at it, you can't even recognize the place.
Right.
DC and Detroit, neither of them tore up their system. They brought in new structure and leadership, but it didn't tear everything up.
Well, they went into receivership.
Yeah.
Well, which is what I think.
And I've been calling for receivership for the last 3 years.
Okay,
So I'm consistent with receivership.
But you understand that the paradigm shift, though, was away from an imperious mayor and went to a city manager
and I'm
who had regulations that are good practices, and that's what I think is missing here in Baltimore: a lack of good practices and consistent codified rules.
It seems like we always break news on this show.
Yes.
We did it last week. So here we go. Baltimore City Council calls on Pugh to resign as mayor says she intends to return. I just looked this up, and my wife had just texted me the same thing. So for all of you all that think she's out, she's in.
So
Don't
now
hold
you
your
have a
breath.
unified council.
Well, we have two bodies. The House and Senate of Maryland are meeting today. Why don't you folks pass a resolution today concurring with the city council? And I believe the city council may be meeting today as well. Why don't y'all
5 o'clock?
Why don't y'all pass a resolution as well? You know, why should we go as we did with the police commissioner? Go months and months and months with no leadership, waiting for leadership to come to the forefront. Madam Mayor, you need to step down in the best interest of all of us.
Ernest, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People.
Again, because
Hold on.
it's just like you said earlier. If
Hold on,
somebody
Ernest.
doesn't want to hold the position, then what good are they? You're not going to get another mayor until 2020. So that means this person has to do the job. And if they're just going to allow the train to run on the track with the same broken caboose and the same cars, you know, it makes no sense to allow him to continue to hold that position.
But who would be second? Sharon Middleton?
Sharon Green Middleton, is she the next in line, Doc?
I still say you allow the mayor to stay in the position unless they bring her out in handcuffs.
Here's the problem with that. Every single action that she takes from here on out is going to be suspect.
That's right. Yes.
Every contract, every grant, every association that she works with will be subject to some speculation as to
tainted.
It's going to be tainted.
Well,
like
she may
right now, I'm looking at Dr. Cheatham, and I'm
may become Mother Teresa and have an epiphany.
I'm going to have to take Dr. Cheatham off my call pad list.
Why?
Because he accepted a book.
How the structure, how it would work now.
What was that, Richard?
Okay, right now you have Jack Young in as ex officio mayor. Sharon Green Middleton moved up to because she's vice president of the city council. She moved up to president. Now, if Jack were to resign as the ex officio mayor, or if the current mayor resigns, then everything changes. If she resigns, then Jack automatically moves in as mayor, and then the position of president of the city council would then have to be voted on
to be selected.
by members of the city council.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
there would be a special election?
Yep.
No, the city council would do it.
It's an election amongst the members of the council.
Ernest, you're there. Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment? I heard you say Freddie Gray.
Yes, Freddie Gray got $6.5 million for the in custody death. Now I'm more interested if a police kills somebody in their custody. I'm more interested in them being prosecuted and going to jail. That's the thing that stops it. Suing the city and the police, you have to sue the city. The police that commits the offense does not have to pay a penny out of his pocket.
Why?
So if you send him to jail, this is the way the stuff will stop. Now,
okay.
In reference to our governor signed, you can go on YouTube and find it. Larry Hogan signed an anti-BDS bill for Zionists. You can see him on tape signing the bill. And they tried to pass an anti-BDS bill in the state of Maryland.
Now, what is BDS? I'll tell you exactly what it is. You cannot say bad things about Israel.
Right. No, discriminate against all people who do business with Israel. Am I correct in that?
Ernest?
The BDS bill is about boycotting companies that are in the occupied territory illegally and profiting from it
You know what, Ernest? I cannot let you take me off my subject matter. I think that's a terrible bill, but we're going to stick to the subject. But thank you for the commentary. We appreciate it, and it's very thoughtful and something we should be paying attention to. Tyrone, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
Yeah, yes, I do. I think that we got to be very careful as we go through this thing with the corruption. We can't let ourselves believe that once the mayor resigns, the problem with corruption in Baltimore City is resolved.
I agree.
Okay, so I would propose, and this is along the lines of what Ernest was saying with the police department. The only way you'll stop corruption in Baltimore is if it's found that the mayor has been bribed, you take the briber and you make him do the perp walk and put him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Then it'll be known that if you do bribery or any type of corruption in Baltimore City, you're subject to prosecution.
But isn't there a fine line between giving a contribution and stuff? Because if that's the case, John Hopkins just gave her $16,000 for her election, right? So there's a fine line. How is that? What is that slippery slope there that allows it to happen?
Slippery slope is when you buy books that you're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Instead of just giving somebody an envelope full of money, you're saying, okay, we're going to buy these books so if we get caught, we can just say we're buying books.
In other words, they're almost laundering money to the campaign.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. So what I'm saying is,
Move closer to your microphone, Tyrone. We can barely hear you, and I keep pushing up the
what
lever.
I'm saying is, if it can be proven in a court of law
Mm-hmm.
that there's some collusion to rob the city of Baltimore, the citizens of Baltimore, of scarce resources, in order for you to enrich yourselves personally. If it's found that the mayor's done that, then the person that she's done it with, they should know. The person that sits on that board at the University of Maryland or whoever made the deal to buy the books, they know they're doing something wrong. I mean, they're intelligent enough to know that.
Thank you. That's an important point.
The legislators have to enact laws, and we have to make them enact laws that ensure that conflict of interest is illegal.
Illegal.
I know
the appearance, right?
And the appearance thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And they never enacted such laws because they were wheeling and dealing.
And
They were complicit.
They were complicit. It's no different than the Congress, in the U.S. Senate. They've been trying to come up with reforms for years,
right?
But they'll never vote on it.
Yeah.
And when they do come up with reforms,
they won't get to the Senate.
Right. Well, they're so thin-lined that they find a way to work
around
the
it,
system.
Yes.
But can I just put this in?
Wait, before you say that, 410-481-1010, you all, I love it that you're calling with solutions. I like the idea that the person that gave her the money is just as complicit as she is, and they should go to jail too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. This is solution-based. This is a solutions-based show. As Doc reminded me last week, we can't keep coming over here talking about the problems unless we offer solutions. We want to hear your thoughts because the Bible says that a wise man seeketh counsel. That's why we're here. We're going to tell you what's going on, our thoughts on it. We want to know what you're thinking. 410-481-1010. Let's go with Aaron, I believe, here on line 4. Aaron, welcome. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I got a comment, a couple of comments. Well, since it's a solution-oriented show, the first thing I think we ought to stop doing is praying for our enemies, because we had it's too much corruption going on. We prayed for our enemy when Frank Reed brought Martin O'Malley right into the pulpit and had us praying for him. And you see what we got out of it. You done had 3 black female mayors. They're queens, all right. They're corrupt queens. We ain't had nobody that's addressing this thing, man. Look, every time I come downtown, I'm downtown just about every day. I see one old no good individual after the next. Everybody's zonked out on pills and everything else, man. So let's why not question the city solicitor and who's signing these contracts for this methadone?
Amen.
And it's killing the people. It's killing us.
Why don't we remove the city solicitor?
We're still sitting around talking about loving our enemies and give this person a chance and let the thing play out. You know damn well she was dirty as hell, man.
Yep.
The people she's been hoeing and flipping for years.
Yes,
It's time
sir.
to get her ass out of office.
Wow, amen.
Period.
I hate to mix it.
And
Yeah.
stop playing these games and stop listening to these damn preachers, man. They ain't worth a damn. Most of them ain't worth a damn. Thank you.
Catherine Pugh appointed the city solicitor, and the city solicitor, Andre Davis, has proven himself to be an obstructionist and an enemy of reform.
What did the Baltimore Sun just say about him? He did said something last week.
He's a disgrace.
They said he was a disgrace, and this is a man that came off the appellate court. So he's ruining his whole life.
He's a rubber stamp Negro. That's what I said. That's
And
my
I heard
opinion.
so many great things from some of our great attorneys about him
Before.
in the past, but this incarnation of Davis is, to me,
These are some of
deplorable.
the same great attorneys, however, that represent folks that are doing harm to our community.
Yes.
I don't give too much credit to many of our attorneys that we have here. How come we don't hear many of them taking on pro bono cases where our citizens have been harmed? You know, why don't we see more of them? Why haven't we seen them during the HBCU issue? Many of these attorneys are making money but of no benefit. They are not modeled after the Monumental Bar Association.
That's
I
right.
think the majority of these folks that we have attorneys today are not doing the kind of service that the attorneys before them used to do. We don't see them anymore.
410-481-1010.
I guess you're not going to be invited to any more parties.
410.
I don't go to them. Don't need to.
1010. Yes,
we
yes,
talk
Richard.
about the state. Right now, we're
Hold
talking,
on, Ben. Go ahead.
We're talking about education in the city asking for more money. We have this HBCU settlement coming right around the corner. They're changing Thornton to this Kerwin Commission. Where is the money going to come from to take care of all of these things? And they're playing around with a blasted horse track, trying to get us us as residents to kick over another $400 million. That is insane.
Yes, it is. And where's that $400 million that's missing from up at Park Heights? Let's start there. Let's start with an audit of that and and see what's going on with that. Ben, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You all call in. It's 4:30. We might have to go to a commercial right quick, but 410-481-1010. We ain't through yet. We got another half hour, and we want to hear what your thoughts are. Yes, yeah. Go ahead, Ben. Yes.
Yeah, I want to say this. I was sitting there thinking, listening to you all. You know, this rabbit hole runs so daggone deep. It's not only in Baltimore; it's throughout the whole entire country. I just have Captain Pew. Has so many Captain Pew juniors and little juniors.
It's almost a prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Come closer. Are you on a speaker? We can barely hear
I'm
you.
talking to the phone.
Okay, well, put your mouth a little closer because I got the lever all the way up to the top.
I believe that Captain Pew has a lot of Captain Pews under her that will do everything that she tells them to do because she got something on every last one. That's the shrewdest thing you can have as a politician. Dirt on another person who don't think that you know anything, and you'll keep them in place at any time, at any place, and do whatever you tell them to do. That's great. That's exactly what's going on. It's business as usual. I mean, like the Bible said, there's nothing new underneath the sun. Nothing new.
No, I agree with you, but you know what? That don't mean we got to get used to that same sun every day. Every now and then you got to put some sunglasses on and put a hat on your head to block the sun from burning you up.
You know what that gentleman's talking about?
Mechanism.
Yeah, I agree, Ben. Go ahead.
With his people that he controls, or he or she controls every night somewhere an offshore line, whatever it takes, and talk business as usual.
Yes. Go ahead, Richard.
What this gentleman is talking about, the prototypes that was set up by Marvin Mandel in this state, who had dirt on everybody about every little thing. And also, you had the infamous files as run by one Mr. J. Edgar Hoover.
Exactly.
COINTELPRO.
No, allegedly he had a set of files on every politician in the United States. And
that's how he stayed in power.
That's why presidents were afraid of him.
Was this when he had a dress on or he didn't have a dress on?
No, even worse than that.
Even with the dress.
No, it's worse than that. There are some pictures of him in his early days
serious. I had to get
when
some
he
levity.
looked negroid.
You said what now?
There were some pictures in his early days that he looked black.
He is black. He is black, and to threaten all his families if they ever said anything. No, he was a black man, and that's why that movie was such a farce that they did on it. They wanted to show him as a drag queen, but they sure didn't want to add the idea that he had black blood in him. And how could a man have been so vicious against his own blood? That's the same thing that I'm sorry, that's the same way I look at the mayor. Your own blood. Ben, thank you. As your own blood. That's the part I can't understand. Who was it? Zora Neale Hurston that said, "All my skin ain't my kin."
All my skin folk ain't my kin
folks. And that is what it is. And this is what we're dealing with here. How do we get our people to understand the need to just love one another and protect one another? But when somebody goes outside to hurt us, they don't hurt just themselves or a few people. They injure us all.
But you've got to be a true believer, Patrick. And some folks are just want to be brainwashed. They'll follow social media. They'll do whatever because they don't care anything about their origins and their culture and their heritage. We know how important that is. You embrace it. Everybody on this panel embraces it. But we've got folks who've been socialized and trained and brainwashed to a point in time where they see themselves not as black other than for purposes of games that are played.
Rise
but they
of
don't
the mighty race.
Yeah, but they don't really believe. They're not passionately supportive of Marcus Garvey or Martin Luther King Jr. or any of the true activists.
Is it a lack of knowledge and lack of ignorance?
No,
or
it's
just
a lack
don't care?
of courage, and it's a lack of genuine
sense of value,
essence. The essence of who you are. Do you either believe or are you willing to sell out? And folks consciously sell out. It's not that they don't know. They feel it's easier from a materialistic point of view to be white. So you got a black face and you're a European mind in the context of
I read something the other day, sorry for cutting you off there, that there are a lot of the middle class, upper middle class black people here in Baltimore are Republicans. Have you guys heard that?
Wouldn't surprise me.
50-50.
You think it's 50-50, that many?
Or they're Dinos by just
Democrats
rubber stamp Democrats.
There were elderly. My parents started out as Republicans.
Of course, we all did, yeah.
Yeah, and they would have. So it's that segment of the population that I think are the remaining Republicans in this town.
We've noted, and we've been doing research, that it has a lot to do with the denomination and the church that they went to. From what I've read and from what I've gathered, especially from people that have been a part of it, that there was a church here that most of the, I won't say the brules went to, the upper classes went to, and that was St. James Church, and that there was a
Lafayette Square.
Yeah, what do you call it? At Lafayette Square.
At Lafayette Square.
And this group of people were really the power brokers in the city for a long time, and if you didn't go to St. James, you weren't considered a part of the higher echelon of the city. Am I right or am I wrong, Mr. Terry?
You're correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this: the majority of African Americans living in the city of Baltimore do not belong to a faith-based institution.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Now, but what about before? What about historically?
I'm talking about in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking about now.
Yeah, I agree with you now because these churches are empty. Yeah. You can chunk an elephant up in there and won't even hit Mother Mary because she hid hiding under the pew.
It is about dollars and cents for many of these people now. Yeah. It's all about economics.
It always has been. As far as the church is concerned, there was not.
There are some good ones.
There are a few of them, but I tell y'all, I think Hebrew Memorial. I think New Psalmist is doing some incredible things in the community.
New Shiloh.
What is New Shiloh doing?
New Shiloh. Let's put it this way: they probably host more organizations that are not a part of their community.
Okay.
Such as Cameron Miles's group. They meet there on a regular basis. They built their own home. They clothe folks. They feed folks. I'll put New Shiloh up against any church in Baltimore City.
Really?
So what they're
in terms
doing,
of self-determination,
what they're doing for their community. Yes,
wow.
Also, Patrick, you got to put in there that at one time it was what schools you went to too. Right. At one time it was City, Poly, Eastern, Western, Forest Park, and Northwestern.
I wonder though, when we talk about this, when you think of the Nigerians, they are a very, very tribal people. But the Nigerians are the most well-educated, higher-educated people in the United States. They don't want their sons marrying non-Nigerians. They won't even let their daughters date non-Nigerians. They are work so hard to keep their culture within their culture. Is that a part of what, say, a St. James or a religious group of organization?
Well, self-serving, yes, of course. That's how you maintain your institutionalized status and mystique.
Is that tribalism?
Well, you call it.
Well, tribalism also goes into the fact that at one time, East Baltimore never went west, or west never went east.
Yeah.
In some cases, that's still the case.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm so proud of my Frederick Douglass High School history.
Why?
I am so proud of that.
Why?
Again, my mother graduated from Frederick Douglass High School, February 1940.
See, we're getting tribal again, though, because I'm so proud of Dunbar. I don't know what to do.
Frederick, I came out in February 1960.
All right. Manny, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
I'm so proud.
Manny, get us back on point.
Please.
Okay. Great show, guys.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. Another sad day in Baltimore. That's all I can say, you know. And the lack of COVID has gotten all of us in trouble at one time or another by not being honest, you know. By not being honest. But who's willing to stand up and say, I'll take the fault, the blame, and the responsibility, and the responsibility. Put it over here on my shoulders. You know,
I'm one of those that does that. I contend we as baby boomers have a lot of responsibility and some blame to accept for why we're in the conditions that we're in. But the solution must be, we got to turn this thing around. We got to get more active. We have to turn this around. We can't wait for somebody else to do it.
Exactly. You know, and it's all about leadership, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Leadership consists of accountability, you know.
Yes, it does, but it also consists of integrity, yes.
Yeah, you know, and as black people, we all know as black people, we don't get a second chance. You know, when we get in trouble, you know, we'll catch a cold. But when white people get in trouble, you know, they catch a cold. We catch pneumonia. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, the fatal.
Well, that was the problem with Catherine Pugh. She thought she was a member of the club.
Exactly.
And didn't work out for her.
And she always wanted to audit things, guys. Remember that? We had to get an audit on this, an audit on that.
But then never came out. So that was just a ploy. I agree to make us think that she was on.
The one person who really advocated for audits, and it cost him, was Ken Harris.
Yeah, he die?
Yeah.
No, he was murdered. He was murdered
at Northwood.
Let's talk about duplicity, man.
He was murdered.
She acts one way in public, and behind doors, she's another way.
Yes.
You know, you can't be deceitful and conniving and dishonest with people. Y'all guys have a day. Nice.
Thanks for calling.
And karma is a B word because it is going to extract its price. Am I right, Coach? I mean, Doc.
Call him Coach.
Oh man, look, I gotta stop accepting the boost. And they're calling me Coach. I'm in trouble now.
Patrick,
you're right, though, Patrick. You're right.
Irene is saying online. She's saying, "I'm wondering if the mayor was playing checkers or chess, because according to communications folks this morning, she's determined to play chess."
She's determined to play chess.
We are the pawns in this chess game.
She's intending to stay.
Yeah, she's
what are you going
to
do?
Stay. That's what I said, until they drag her out in handcuffs.
I was saying, so they could arrest her.
No,
not without an adjudication of the courts.
Not without an indictment.
An indictment and court action.
It's coming.
Well, let it come.
What she's doing is what happened in Virginia. She's playing like a stall game, and she's hoping that everybody forgets about it.
Oh no!
No, I think this is totally different than Virginia. Virginia, we're talking about what someone did and how it was perceived. We're talking about whether or not someone benefited financially.
Well,
whether they voted.
It's a different scenario.
Whether they voted in the best interest of a business rather than the best interest of people. I think we're talking about apples and oranges here.
Okay. But it's still fruit, though.
Well, that's been a tradition in the state. They've always voted primarily in the best interest of big business.
Up as citizens, register more people to vote, but we have to do voter education. We can't keep putting the same people back in and expecting different results. Half of these folks need to be voted out of office. We're in the plight that we're in because Democrats that are predominantly African Americans have put us in this mess we're in.
And sustain it.
And the problem is, too, Doc, is yes, we have these incumbents who are do-nothings, but we got to be able to bring up a group of individuals who can challenge them and do better for us.
I have a concern. I'm wondering if her reluctance to resign is based on the fact that she can get some protections in terms of legal advice and anything like that, remaining in her office.
But she's going to have to pay for this. Will the city have to pay for that?
Well, I don't know. She would have the city solicitor working in her behalf. She would certainly have the ability to call upon certain city officials to supply records or respond to certain criticisms.
Accessibility, you're saying.
So she has a cocoon around her potentially if she stays in office. If she leaves office, then she's on her own and she has to answer all her interrogatories and everything else.
Interrogation.
Is she still getting paid?
Yes.
Yeah. She's still getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Is she still getting a pension theoretically? Yes.
Correct.
So I'm just saying there are economic reasons why you want to stay in office.
410-481-1010. 410-481-1010. Now this is interesting, because we don't think about the monetary side of it. You're right, but having all that access, then she has really carte blanche to fight her own case, and the city pays for her malfeasance.
That may be for the city level, but I think where her trouble is going to come in is at the state level. I think over 100 plus pieces of legislation are being looked at. About 40 of them may have been involved
the
with
state
some
prosecutor
of these,
looking
health
at this
institutions and
what
private
about federal?
insurers.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to look at taxes.
They're not saying anything, but the feds never say anything until they have their ducks in a row, and then they come out.
And with this particular administration, we know that Trump is definitely not a supporter of a Democratic Party. Mayor.
Lord, don't mention Trump. Good God.
Yeah. Doc, I see you move.
I plead the fifth. I do not have any books in my car.
If you were going to say, and you said something earlier, and I want to bring it back. He talked about all of the community associations coming together. And all of us having a memorandum of understanding for all candidates that want to run for office. I love that idea. And we tried it before, and we had one meeting, and they was standing room only. So not only is that a good idea, but we know it will work.
It works. We did it last year. As a matter of fact, 2 candidates decided they didn't want to go through that type of scrutiny. And I told my neighbors, I said, well, that should tell you something. If we as a community agree these are the priorities of our community, and what we're merely asking is, as a candidate that wants to come speak to us, we're asking you to address these issues. We're not mandating you got to vote yay and nay on them, but we're saying that you're going to admit that you know what our concerns are, and then we're going to hold you accountable in 4 years, be able to determine whether or not you helped us out or not. I'm suggesting on Tuesday, the 3rd Tuesday of this month, at 6:00 p.m., I'm inviting community presidents and want to be community presidents to come join us as I will unveil this plan to our community again. We did it last year. We will suggest some items for our community to consider that are important to us. And then we will say, if you want to come speak to us, it's not a partisan issue. We're saying if you want to come speak to us, you need to address these things and put it in writing. Because one of the things we don't do, we do not put things in writing. And there's nothing wrong with us as a community. We're not saying we want you to vote this way or that way. We're asking, what is your position on these issues? And on that basis, that's how we will determine in 4 years whether you deserve to be reelected or not.
Doc, do you still have your report card on all of the legislators?
No, we do not. I don't mind admitting. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. My community has put the priority is, since the city of Baltimore and all these African-American Democrats have not seen fit to create a master plan for our community, Matthew Henderson within 60 days will unveil to the city of Baltimore the master plan that we have devised for our community, to bring us a food market, which we don't have, to bring a community action center, which we don't have, to bring a voting site in the Western District, which we don't have. How can these senators and delegates come back to Baltimore City? And I'm hoping you folks in West Baltimore are hearing me. Why is it we don't have a early voting site in the Madonna area, where you have the subway stops there, 16 buses, 2 colleges, Madonna Shopping Center? Why don't we have an early voting site there? Does that mean they don't want too many black folks voting?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
We got delegates and senators. We need to address this issue. Why don't we have an early voting site somewhere in the Madonna area?
Well, we're going to get people that are going to rise up to run for mayor. I'm sure we're going to see that. But these are some of the things. And what was the date of that meeting again?
Ours is the third Tuesday of this month. It's at Matthew Henson Elementary School. That is at Payson and Baker. The entrance is closer to Presbury Street. But we're inviting community groups. We want to partner with other groups that will say from this day forward, we will begin registering on a regular basis. We will begin educating our voters on a regular basis, because having an ignorant voting group is worse than having a group that doesn't vote at all. So half of these folks do not deserve to be back in office.
No, they don't. Is that the 16th, or is that?
I'm gonna be honest. The date I don't know.
I'm losing because
the third Tuesday.
The third Tuesday. Yeah, because
that should be the 16th, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be the 16th.
That would be the 16th.
I just want to mark this in my calendar.
That's the day after.
We've actually called for on Juneteenth, which I know is the 19th because the date of Juneteenth is the 19th. We've actually called for on the Juneteenth day in June, a citywide discussion of why are we allowing our city council, the mayor, the president of the city council, the controller, to allow 1/4 of the citizens of Baltimore to be living in a food desert. We call it apartheid because a desert is nature-made. Apartheid is man-made.
Yes,
we want to have a public discussion. And you senators and delegates coming back, we definitely need you there. But we have a Baltimore Development Corporation which is not even addressing this issue. Maybe we're not white enough. Maybe we're not rich enough. But how can we have a plethora of alcohol establishments in our community and folks don't have no food market?
What time is that meeting?
6:00 p.m. third Tuesday in this month. Open. Our meetings are always open.
What is the address?
1600 Payson Street, North Payson. The entrance is closer to Presbury.
Okay, North Payson Street.
You're all invited to come. Memorandum of understanding. We're asking. We all do this in our communities. Let's begin demanding of our elected officials that they address our issues, not their issues, our issues.
Yes, sir. I agree with that 100%. I'm adding that to my booklet. Well, we got a few minutes left, and in fact, we have exactly 9 minutes left. James, something happened this morning when you went to the 7-Eleven to get your morning coffee or whatever you were doing. Would you tell our community what happened?
Books.
Yeah, I was not getting books. I was getting a newspaper, though, because I like to read and like to be aware of things. So I'm in the 7-Eleven, and there's a line of about 15 people. It's very active that morning, and they had 2 cashiers working. And all of a sudden, the doors of the 7-Eleven literally burst open, and about 7 to 10 young people came in and did a flash mob robbery of the 7-Eleven.
My goodness.
They were taking candies, cakes. They were literally on the floor, breaking into the donut area, sodas, everything. The manager immediately, I guess this seems like it might have been done before, he immediately ran to the door and tried to block it. And the kids were running around him, and then he started grabbing some of the children and literally pulling some of the merchandise out of their hands. He ended up with an armful of the merchandise, and the kids then most of them started rushing out of the 7-Eleven at that point. And then they continued up the street toward one of the academies. This was, I should give the location.
Yes, sir.
It was at the 7-Eleven at 25th and Kirk.
25th and Kirk has cameras. 25th and Kirk had cameras. At least I remember seeing them there.
Yes. Now, we don't know if they work.
Okay,
but
that's a good one.
What happened is it really broke my heart because every single one of the children were African American, and the store owner was African American, or not African American, but a person of color. And so I say to myself, this is where we seem to have descended. I am heartbroken about it. And then I said, well, you got to do something about it. I really wanted, my hands literally were twitching because I wanted to lay hands, and not in a biblical way, on these children. And so Patrick had asked me, did they have, maybe they were just hungry. And I'm saying, with a well-planned attack like that, they weren't hungry. So
Anybody
I called the
with
school.
Uniforms on?
They had pants on.
Khakis.
So I called the principal of the school.
Good.
And he first wanted to know whether it was really his school or not. The problem is they were going toward his school. So I don't know. All I say is that they were going toward his school. So I said, do you have breakfast programs? And he said, yes, we do. So I'm looking at children at between 8 and 8:15 in the morning, literally doing a flash mob in a 7-Eleven, completely disrupting that particular store, and leaving the image that I will remember all day and all tomorrow and the next day. And so I'm saying, what must we do at this point to help those children understand consequences? They're our kids.
Yes.
And so what happened to us?
Yes, and the one thing I noticed this morning when we were speaking, the protectiveness of the principal, and we don't know if the camera was there, and if we don't know if there's going to be follow through. But then I ask you also, where would the police normally 7-Eleven have security?
The police are overwhelmed.
The police, I saw
no security. They normally have their personal.
They had no security in the store.
A lot of times they don't. I've never seen a 7-Eleven with security.
Really, I got friends that do it. Messiah.
The police car. I saw a police car going north on Kirk Avenue, but they didn't stop at the store. And
he didn't call them, right?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
So I, as I said, I called the principal. I'm trying to take action. Called the principal, and then I actually went back to the store before I came here.
Okay.
The manager was not there. I'm going back after I leave here to see if they, in fact, did get film, and then to also connect them with the principal of that school.
I think James did the exact thing that needs to be done. We had a similar situation this past Friday, and we had an event Saturday at our park and playground, and found out that the kids from Carver had literally thrown trash all over the 1600 block of Bentlow Street, and we knew they came from Carver. But what I asked one of our leaders of our community to do, one, we cleaned it up ourselves. We used some of the kids that we paid to clean up. We cleaned it up, but then I requested of him that he immediately in any way that we can, but we got to address this thing immediately. I think what James done is perfect.
Yes.
That's exactly what we have to do. Just don't immediately point the finger, but we got to find solutions to the problems and issues we have.
I'd like to have a conference with those kids. I'd like to know why they felt as though they had a right to do that. And I'd like to know if they were hungry, or were these later snacks? Because the first question I asked you, were these hungry? Remember, what was it? What's his name that said a hungry man is an angry man?
Yeah.
But if these kids weren't angry because they were going to give them food at school, was this some sort of rebellious team spirit?
In addition to
these flash mob robberies have been taking place all over the country for years, and it's all set up by social media.
Social media driven.
Yeah, this was the first time I had ever seen it.
In addition to what I've heard you guys say, once you do identify, and I agree with everything you've said, the children per se, and sometimes you can identify the individual, then the parents have to be in the room. And you have to mandate they be in the room. If you talk about conferences, I'm not just talking about being punitive or arresting people or giving people criminal records, but you have to mandate by law or some action that the parents are part of the discussion.
They're going to protect their kids.
Right. A lot of these parents are going to say, who are you to tell me about my child? And I'm telling you,
not if they're on film committing an offense.
I am not surprised by this particular scene that you have seen so far. We had an incident down at the harbor just recently.
Yes.
We had an incident over at East Point Mall. It's going to be a long, hot summer.
Yes.
These kids are not being engaged in the school. They've
That's
taken
true.
away gym time.
This is 8 o'clock in the morning.
Extracurricular programs at most of these schools.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they're on their way to school. They're on their way to school.
To be
They're
bored.
They're congregating. They're getting involved. Instead of them going immediately to school, They're getting involved in all kinds
and there
of,
also has to be consequences.
Yes, well, there are, but I don't want the consequence to be putting them in jail. I want them talked to. I want them to sit and ask why they did it and find out if they have some questions that they need answers. Hassan, you got 1 minute. What do you got to say?
Hey, I just want to, say, I know no disrespect to you all at all, but I know you guys are speaking from an older generation point of view, and I just wanted to say that we are at the times where we past talking. I'm not saying let's get violent, but we need to take action and unite together.
Yes.
And boycott. Actually boycott and actually take action together and stop talking.
Boycott what? Boycott. Come on, Hassan. What are we going to boycott?
We're not the talking generation. We're the doing generation.
Boycott. I can tell you what we can boycott.
What? Hurry up.
We can boycott radio stations that are promoting the genocide of the black youth that is every day constantly inside the same building that you are in.
Well, we don't do that, and it's a freedom of speech.
That's the problem, brother. That's the problem. We got to be willing to do that. You're saying we don't do that, then then what are we talking for?
Who's going to lead the boycott? You call us up again, and
I'll lead it.
Oh, come over here.
We need to get you on. We need to get you on.
Let's get his number. Let's get his number. Put him on hold and take his number down.
We do. Give your number out publicly.
No, we just hold on.
Number publicly.
We'll get your number.
We'll be glad to work with you.
You got it. You got his line. All right, he's gonna get your number, Hassan. Give it to us.
Older person?
I think he hung up. Exactly. But they look at physicality instead of mentality. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLB 1010 Baltimore. Say goodbye, Leo. Say goodbye, Richard.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Doc. Say goodbye, Jay. We'll see you next Sunday at 3:30 on WWI and 1010 and here on WLB 1010 at 11:30. God bless. Have a great week, you all. Be safe. Love one another.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore. Brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. The new 1010 WOLB with talk in the day and soul at night.